unless you're talking. Okay, welcome everyone to the April 10th, 2024 Community Facilities Building Committee meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. A quick reminder to especially our committee people, since we are on Zoom, we haven't done it in a while, to make sure you state your name. And we also have a substitute clerk who will be taking the minutes from us from the recording. So she would be greatly assisted by you stating your name when you're speaking. And I'm going to do my best to get to raised hands in the order. But again, we haven't done this in a while, so give me a little leeway. With that, I'm going to do the roll call. I'm trying to see if I can see who's here, but anyhow, Mike Buswell. I don't see Mike. Okay. Don Cantafio.
Here.
Okay. Rich Kroll.
Rich Kroll is here.
Okay. Dean Fabrizio is not. Ron Feligno. Okay, that's a here from Ron. Okay. Dave Gala.
Here.
Kelly Malozzi.
Here.
Gail Bataco.
Here.
Matt Sather.
Here.
Tony Silber. I don't see Tony, and I did not hear from him. So we may have other members jumping on. At this point, I'm going to call for public comment. Bill, if there's anyone who needs to come in for public comment. Anybody out there?
Nobody's raised their hand.
Yeah, I'm not seeing. I just want to give it a minute. No, Bill? I'm literally giving it a minute. I'm watching my clock here. All right. I am going to close public comment then. And I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the March 13th, 2024 Community Facilities Building Committee meeting. Can I get
moved.
So moved.
Okay, who was Kelly?
Kelly Malazzi.
Was it first? Can I get a second?
Second.
Dave Gala. Okay, thank you. Any changes that anybody else has other than me? Okay, so I know I wasn't there, but I watched the recording, so I'm still going to vote on it. And I did want to amend the minutes to include the questions that you guys read. I meant to send those to Gia to be included with the minutes. And in my state that I was in, it slipped through the cracks. So I'm going to ask her to add the questions that you guys went over at that meeting to the minutes. And just with that too, I'm going to remind anybody in the public to watch the tape. There were a lot of questions and answers that all of the information won't be included in the minutes, so I'll remind them. So my amendment is just to attach the questions that were read. Can I have a second to that amendment if I'm doing that right? Dawn, am I doing that right?
You are. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended, or
Thank
on
you.
the amendment first,
Okay.
and then we can accept the
Okay.
minutes.
And a second to that?
Dave Gallo, I'll second that.
Yeah, a second. And then a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
First we have to vote on it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So if there's any discussion, then we vote.
All right. Anybody want to discuss my amendment? All right. Can I just I'll get a hands up from everybody if everybody's good with it. I see all hands. Okay.
You can ask for unanimous consent for those attending.
Okay, so unanimous consent just meant everybody held their hands, raised their hand. All right, thank you. All right, and so now, Dawn, a motion to the minutes as amended, right?
Yes, so moved.
And Don Cantafio, and a second. Anybody?
I'll second
Kelly
Rich Kroll.
Rich Kroll is a second. Okay, and unanimous consent for that. If I could, just a show of hands. Okay, all right. Hi, Tony. So Tony Silver is joining us at 7:07 p.m. Thanks for jumping on, Tony. Bill, any sign of Tom and Rocco?
The architects were invited. probably about 10 minutes ago now, but I have not seen them online yet.
Okay, that's gonna make the project update a little confusing.
Lori, could you text them to?
I did.
Okay.
But let me make sure. I'll see. Sorry, give me a second. I don't think I have Rocco's. I did email them this afternoon to remind them. Hopefully they're not sitting at town hall. So you know what I'm going to ask then? Literally the only other thing, I just have a couple of things for new business. So if we can take the project update out of order and go to the new business agenda item. Somebody want to move that? Gail, go ahead.
I move the agenda item.
Thank you. And a second.
Dawn Contapio.
Thank you. Unanimous consent.
Mhm.
Show of
No
hands.
objection.
We're good. Okay, thank you. I will be so upset if they don't show up. This will be the record quickest Zoom we've ever had. But the couple things I had just in obviously we would have more from the project update that we could continue to discuss. But the couple things I have coming up, based on the questions and answer session you guys did at the March meeting, the town has been creating this kind of FAQ. Just a very general, we talked about it, I think 2 meetings ago. That's going to go up on the website. We want to keep adding to that as the project evolves. So it's got just some of the basic questions. I'm going to send it to you guys after this, and then it'll be attached to the minutes. Just kind of the questions we've been asking or that have been asked by the public, such as, how many sites were looked at, why is it a senior community center, and then more details further on about parking and some of the kind of a summarization of the things you guys talked about last time. So take a look at that. We can continue to add to it. That was really based off of the initial questions that most of you guys sent me early on, and then just general questions that we've heard at different meetings or misunderstandings. It's probably a better way to say it. So that is happening. The other thing that's happening, and I think I sent you in the email, is that the architects are going to do a presentation to just the seniors at the senior center on April 25th. That is not going to be our meeting. It's going to be a senior center presentation that they'll be running. If more than a quorum of us go, it does have to become noted as our meeting, but I know it's 1:30 in the afternoon. It's really just an informational session for the seniors who typically can't get out to our meetings at night. It'll probably just be an overview of a little bit of the feasibility study, the conceptual designs, and then mainly questions and answers for members of the senior center. So wanted to let you know that's coming. What I'm going to ask you to do in the next week or so is tell me whether you really want to be there or not, and then we'll have to figure out whether it'll have to be noted as a meeting. And then the only other thing I had is we are probably coming up on a town council update. I have not heard from Carl whether he wants that, and I was going to talk to the architects if they were coming on to see what, if they wanted to present something. So Kelly, Mike's not here, so I'll follow up with you as far as whether that should be getting on the town council agenda.
And I plan on going to that meeting at the senior center. If we can keep that number below quorum, then I would like to go.
Okay, I kind of figured because I know you showed up there a couple times. But, yeah, and I know it's, what are we, about 2 weeks away from that. So I'm not going to hold anybody to it, but I'm going to send out a reminder in a week and just get a number. But thank you for letting me know about that. This is really disturbing. I have nothing coming in from Tom. And I did send another reminder. So you know what? No, that's Tony. Why don't we go back just as far as project update? I'll tell you what little bit I know, and then if you guys have any reflections on the last meeting and anything else you wanted to add to that, or more that you wanted to follow up on. I know that they are meeting with the site engineers. They have like 3 meetings over this week and next week. that are going to kind of get a little bit more of a clearer picture about exactly where this needs to be. I know one of the questions that we brought up was how much space was going to be taken up, right? That's been a question on and off about how much of the 25 acres are we actually using. And the site engineers are really going to give us more of that specific of what's really going to fit for that. So that was that question you won't see on the FAQs until we get that actual number. You know, that 0.65 number, I know you guys discussed it at the last meeting, keeps throwing around, and that 0.65 has always been what undisturbed land we were going to possibly encroach on. We don't know if that number is going to be less or not. So the site engineers will determine that. So my understanding, just in really brief emails back and forth with Tom, is that they're getting closer to some of the specifics of that. The other question that came up that I wanted to kind of let you guys know I've been talking about is usage numbers of the senior center. I know that came up in regards to the traffic report. So I've been going back and forth with Michelle. It's such a complicated thing because it can change by day, by month, by event kind of thing. But I think the question came up that, you know, what was given for the traffic report accurate as to what's happening now. So that was kind of my discussion with her. The numbers are definitely up at the senior center from a year ago, which we anticipated. Post-COVID, they've been growing ever since. But I guess what I wanted to explain to people to keep in mind is the traffic report was based on kind of the usage numbers at the time, which is not just people attending, but more people that, you know, you look at how many people attend an event and you add that up, and that's, you know, I'm going to start 100 people a day, but that isn't 100 different people, you know, so that's the number that they kind of go off of. So maybe 100 people attending things, maybe actually 60 have come in and out. And I'm just taking a number. The traffic engineers took that in comparison to the JCC Woodbridge was our comparative community center, which has much higher numbers. And I think somebody brought that up and saying it was a smaller town, but they also have a pool and a fitness center. Hours are extended. So their numbers were always going to be higher than ours ever will be. So he kind of took what our numbers were last year and tripled them to really get the traffic numbers. So I know that was discussed last time, and I just wanted to clarify it because it was kind of this, oh, our numbers are so much higher. Is that traffic report still accurate? And it is, even if we had a lot of room for the numbers to go up. We always said they were conservative numbers. So I wanted to clarify that point. Was there anything else from that meeting that wasn't, and this was just me watching it and watching you guys interact, and thank you again for having great conversations, but anything else from the group here that you felt we needed more follow-up on, or that, you know, was going to come in time and just to keep our eye on it, or anything that wasn't clear that you'd like to bring up now? I probably won't be able to answer it, but at least we have it out there. I see Dawn.
Yeah, hi, Lori, thanks. There were a couple of questions that Tom was going to get back to us about. Do you know if maybe that was what he was going to bring forward tonight, but maybe if we can just follow up with some of those questions that people had. And some of the feedback I got after the meeting was very positive. They liked the questions, and they thought having them on the website would be a big help for the community in order to answer some of the questions. And some of the information's out there, you know, to clarify, was very good. And I have talked to some people. It looks like a couple of people in the community are going to show up. And if you have room, I would be happy to show up at the meeting on the 25th.
Okay. So I, just to remind myself, watched the meeting again today, and the questions that I really saw Tom was going to follow up on that I noticed were what I just talked about, the land use, how much of the land we were using, the parking, or the traffic question. And there were others that seemed to be, we are going to find out further down the line when we got more information from the site engineers. But I did send him again today. Just he had all the questions from the last meeting. And I sent him today just to remind him if there's anything that he knew from his notes to follow up from that. But he's not here, so I can't help you with that. But that's what I noticed from the meeting. If anybody else, is there anything else? Please raise your hand now, and so I can throw that in. I'm looking. Hey, Rich. Oh, you're literally raising your hand.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to just jump in. One of the questions I sort of asked last time, but not maybe this directly, the building design that we have right now, has that, you know, basic conceptual design already been voted on and approved, or is there still room to make modifications to it
So, voted on by,
by this committee?
so the feasibility study was voted on and the conceptual plans are part of that, right?
Mhm.
But conceptual plans are just that, you know, they are, just gives you the, I'm trying to think of the word he typically uses, but just kind of gives you the framework of what's going in the building. This is what it might look like. And I know watching the meeting today, he talked about, I think one of the questions was, what's the difference between the conceptual plans and schematic design? And it was more detailed of like where things are actually going to go. As far as real specifics, I think you guys asked, you know, about like, are we going to be talking about carpets and furniture and that kind of thing? That definitely down the line will be something we'll be able to continue to work on. But as far as like general what goes in the building, that was voted on really as part of our feasibility study. Was there something specific that you thought, what can we look at changing?
Well, one of the items was they have this patio, right? But the patio is really the roof over the gymnasium,
Mhm,
which is going to be a flat roof,
mhm.
right? And flat roofs, you know, can have lots of problems
Mhm.
long and short term. So, you know, I think if we're going to be looking to build a municipal building where sometimes maintenance doesn't get done on the schedule that it should, right? That's something that I would be concerned about. And, you know, do we need to have it designed in that way?
Right. And so that did come up at the meeting last time, right? If I recall, did you guys
Yes.
talk about it? And he talked about different surfaces that will be used and that kind of thing, right? But are you asking more like, does the patio need to exist, or how should it be built to exist?
Yeah, or could it be designed in such a way that it's not also the roof over, you know, an interior structure?
I feel like he's addressed that to some extent, but we can definitely get it clarified. I mean, part of that is, if not, then it's because of the slope, I think is kind of how that happened, right? It's because the gym kind of protrudes out. The bottom floor is always going to go out further than the top. So, and just to not have more square footage, I think some of that is in saving space too. But I will definitely have him discuss that more. I think more last time we talked about what materials would be used, and I think you're talking about more like, is there another option for that space?
Yeah, I'm always going to look at things from like a long-term maintenance
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Yeah, for sure.
maintainability and trying to, I mean, like we should never be building anything with flat roofs at this point, right? And this building doesn't have flat roofs, but it does have this patio.
Right. Right. So what is that the best use of how that space should be used? Is that the best way for that overhang, for lack of a better word, to be used? So, all right, let's talk about that more. That's fine. Again, conceptually, the size of the building is going to stay the same. I think there's some room for those kind of conversations, or else a conversation about why this is the best way to do it. If that's the case, I think is important too for us to understand that. So I will follow up with him, throw that into the follow-up. Anybody else have anything? No, no, no. I cannot apologize enough for them not showing up. It's really not their style.
Lori, you have a question up?
Yeah,
Oh.
Matt has a question.
Oh, hi, Matt. You skipped up to the other corner in my Brady Bunch mode here. There you go. Hi.
This isn't for the architects per se, just for us, and again, apologize if I don't know how things work, but I'm wondering what we're sending the feasibility study and these Q&A follow-ups to the town council. What else are they going to ask us for? Should we be anticipating other things and getting the ball rolling on anything?
I know, you know what, it's so funny. Somebody was asking this, like, what, this almost feels like we're kind of standing still right now as far as our committee, like what else we can be doing other than getting out some of these public presentations. There is a lot, from my understanding, of behind the scenes as far as site engineers and all that kind of stuff. So more of that, like real nuts and bolts, is what the architect is developing now. And I know there were some questions about, I think Rich, you might have asked me a little bit about this, about how that kind of works, the way the contract worked, right? And I think the thought process, just to be completely transparent here, is let's get as much done, as much information as the town council needs and the Board of Finance needs to approve money that really is going to say this building can fit in this space, yes or no. And that's more important of this site work, and to answer all the environmental questions that have really come up. So that is really going on beyond our purview, right? None of us are experts in that. We hire the experts to do that. So that is what I know is happening now, and that's the information that they'll need, from my understanding. We have talked to the town attorneys about developing a really clear timeline to see if there is something else that should be happening. I know Tom mentioned at the last meeting that this site work is really going to be happening through July. So we have the next, almost 3 months to kind of dig into deeper. Anything else? Part of my my notes about should the town council want us to do an update is to ask them what else they'd like to know. But based on what typically happens in a new building, we're pretty much covering it by getting the site work done, the feasibility study. Those are the kind of studies that need to happen. The conversations that I know the architects are having with some town employees, those kind of things are happening. I was hoping we get a general update from that tonight and give us more of a clearer picture. Obviously, isn't happening, but we can hopefully have our eyes more wide open the next time. But nothing, from everything I've been told and understand, we are up to date with whatever they need to be doing. It's the professionals that need to be doing the work now that really will give the information that the town council needs. Does that kind of answer your question more or less?
Does. I'm just wondering if I don't know. I'm just wondering, this seems a bit, and maybe this is the way it is, but it seems a bit inefficient that we're waiting for questions that we maybe don't have to wait for.
So I think all along we've been saying, what do we need? What do we need, right? I think that's been part of this whole process. And, we're relying on the professionals to tell us this is what we need for a town body to make that decision. So
yeah, I get the professionals, and I trust they're doing great work, and of course, but ultimately this is not a decision going to be made by the professionals. It's going to be made by the town council. And if there are questions that they have in their deliberations that we can, or if there are responsibilities that we have as a body that we can get on while we're waiting for the professionals to do their site work, it'd be nice to know what those are. And I mean, I don't know if we can, give a nudge to the town council to say, hey, let's, this is let's make this a priority. And while we're waiting for the site work to be done, why don't you guys tell us what you'll need? So when that moment comes, we got all our ducks in a row.
I like that concept, and I see our town council rep raising her hand. I like this idea as far as, like I said, we're due for an update. And I was feeling like, how do I update on stuff that's just saying, oh, the architects are doing work? Maybe the update includes, we're here to say, what else do you want to know other than the engineering, perspective of this. So I'm comfortable with that. Kelly, what's your input on that?
Well, I mean, all I want to say is that having been to so many meetings where this has been a topic of discussion, and all of the public comment that we've heard, and those of us like you, Matt, and I that have visited the senior center, I can't fathom that there would be much more information that the town council would need. Those 21 people are very well aware of the situation. I think I will say, for me personally, I've been talking to every single person who will listen about what they think about this, right? Because to me, I represent the members of District 6. And so I'm keeping track, right? I'm talking to people and asking who's in favor, who's opposed, so that, because I believe my responsibility isn't what I think about it, it's what the people that I represent. And maybe that's a little bit Pollyanna-ish, but I would certainly hope that all the other town council members are doing the same thing. They're talking to their constituents and they're figuring out what is the responsible thing to do for the town of Trumbull. Bearing in mind, certainly all those folks that live on Churchill Road, but also bearing in mind everyone else in this town. And I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, and I think we've talked about it in this capacity. We haven't really built a building in this town in almost 20 years. At least that's my understanding. I've only lived here for 9 years, but my understanding is that Tech Ec and Frenchtown are the last two buildings that we've built. So the overarching feeling that I'm getting from the people I'm talking to is we should have nice things and we need to do this. So all, you know, again, all I would say is I think everybody needs, you know, all the town council people should be in a position to know where they stand on this. And it's really, you know, once it makes the agenda, which Lori, I don't know what kind of hurdles need to be jumped in order to get it on the agenda for an actual vote. I'm sure that's a question for the attorneys and, you know, the whole process in general. It would
Yes,
be really nice to do that,
right,
you know, sooner rather than later. So we kind of know what the,
right.
you know, what
So
the appetite is.
obviously, it doesn't do that until, you know, this next phase of the contract. That was always the part, like, let's get this phase of the contract. So we have all these, like, particularly the environmental questions answered. We have a real clear picture of what this building looks like, where it's going to go, and, you know, give the people who have to vote on it the correct information. So obviously that doesn't go to that vote until that portion is done. Now, how soon after that? I don't know. That is definitely for legal minds and not mine. We haven't had a referendum before. That's the other thing that I think we're still, you know, sorting through, but I agree. But Matt, you know what, I actually like this idea of, you know, our update basically saying, hey, here we are, this is what's going on right now. We're kind of in limbo waiting for the, you know, the professionals to do their job. What else would you like us to be looking at? And I'm always surprised, and this is no offense against any town council member, but anytime I've done an update for the last however many years I've been doing this, there aren't a lot of questions. And I think it's to Kelly's point that they're paying attention. They're either watching the meetings or looking at the minutes or having conversations. But there aren't a lot of questions, which leads me to believe that hopefully they, you know, they have the information they know. But I like that idea. I'm comfortable with that. And if the rest of the committee is comfortable with that, I'll ask Mr. Massaro if we can get on for May, just for this brief kind of conversation, if nothing else. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I agree that I think I was saying to Gail the other day, I was like, it does feel kind of in limbo. Now, my last month has been not invested in this, but even if it was, there's not a lot that's been going on. But you're right. I would rather, if it comes to a vote and then they start having questions, why don't we get to that beforehand? So I appreciate that suggestion. And if everybody's good with me following through with that, I'll be happy to at least try to get on the next agenda for that. Or at least if we can't get on the agenda, to even try to get that question posed, whether in just an email out to town council reps or something, if they want to come on to our next meeting or something like that, some more exchange, right? And as far as the Board of Finance, and we have a Board of Finance member here, but their vote is going to be for the money, right? They have to come up when all this is said and done, and the architects can give us a figure. They have to decide if that figure is something that we're potentially willing to bond should this referendum get improved. If all these other things fall into place, right? That's, you know, the kind of the last step before the referendum. So, but I like that suggestion. You're right. We don't want any surprises, and I don't anticipate it, but who knows, right? And we're kind of all engulfed in this. So it's always interesting when people who are a little bit on the sidelines, what they're wondering about that we might have solved or knew months ago, you know? So,
I would hate to get to July,
yep.
have the site work done, and then to hear, oh, well, we need 2 things that you guys could have done in May and we just didn't do them.
I love that. And it's so funny. Like I said, when you're in Scuntston, you're more like, oh, but we are doing what we think the site engineers to me are the most important part right now. But you're right. There is other pieces that somebody who has to eventually know more about this than they do now will ask. So I'm going to pursue that. I like that idea. Anybody else have anything either from the last meeting or anything the conversation Matt just brought up they'd like to add to? We're good. All right. I'm going to send you guys what this kind of, I don't want to say fluffy, but this kind of nice thing that'll go on the website that just have general questions. I'm going to ask you that if there's something there that's missing, there's some questions that kind of combine some of the things you asked. Some of the nitty gritty isn't on there because the public may not know this. This is really a document for the public to understand, but if there's something else you really want added, The ones that we wanted from the beginning was how much of the land was gonna be taken up. That will get on there. It's not on there now, so you know that in advance, but otherwise, send me whatever your questions are. And then I will also check back with you guys next week about that senior center presentation. And if you can't be there, if there's anything else that you think would be important for the seniors to know. Anybody else, Cal?
So the this document this is the FAQ, if you will, that's gonna go on the town website. Philosophically, is our intention here, those of us in this body, to put as many eyeballs on that as possible? Because I guess my question would be, is this something we should be sharing on social media and because there's 8 trillion Facebook groups
Right.
surrounding, Trumbull business. Like, should we be putting it on those sites? Like, hey, everybody, like, just in the name of transparency and full information. Because
Right.
if it comes to that, that would be good to know, because we can put it on Keep Trumbull Real and, all these different sites. Or if it's just let's not do that, then I would like to know what the right thing to do would be there.
I think that's the ultimate goal. Cindy, a lot of this was kind of directed out of the First Selectman's office too, about like, how do we get this information out there? We're still kind of looking at it as a work in progress. So right now it's going to go as an attachment on our page. When we get some of these other deeper questions, a couple of these more important questions, I think the intent, and Cindy, feel free to jump in, was to put it on the town page, right up front, and then share away. I think we just wanted to get a few more questions answered before that happened. Right now, there's some just general ones. If I don't feel like those questions are going to get answered in a timely manner, then it would be my recommendation to get it on the town website, updates, and then be able to share it to anywhere, social media particularly.
Yeah, this is Cindy Katsky. I would agree that, once it's in a good enough shape, if we can get it, more complete, or if not, we can just go with what you have. But we could always put it in the spotlight. What that does is it puts it on the homepage of the town website in with other town news, and we then that can be put out on social media, and there's then you just share that town Facebook post to all the groups. So yeah.
Timing for that, and I agree, Kelly. I wanted to get it out there as much as possible, even what little, I think there's about 12 questions on there, and with summaries of what you guys talked about last time. I think some of it was based on waiting about particularly how much of that land's going to be used, because that's been a big question and a big misunderstanding. And when I asked Tom about that, he seemed to think he'd have more of a clear, what he felt a comfortable question that should go in writing after. I think their meeting was on the 15th, which is next week. So I will follow up with that next week. If he still doesn't have an answer, then my ask of the town will be to put it out there anyhow with what we have. At the top of it, I wrote something along the lines that this will be a running document. The questions, as the project evolves, more things will get on there, which is why I'm asking you guys to throw in whatever you're thinking about that you think the public needs to know more about. So I'd say give us a week and then we'll be able to throw it out there. Anybody else have anything? I am so sorry. This is so not like them. I'm like actually worried that they're sitting at town hall in their little red Mini Coopers and waiting for us. But even though Tom would answer me by text. So my apologies. If there's something that they really feel they want the group to know before our next meeting, which is, a month away, I may call for a special Zoom just so they can give a half hour. I'm going to see what he says about that. And again, my apologies. I did follow up a couple times, but this is not like them. So we'll see what's going on with that. Other than that, everybody good? Good to see everyone. I said to somebody last night, I just need to see anybody other than my family and my doctor. So just even on Zoom, it's good to see your faces. It's been a long month. But other than that, I am going to ask for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, Dawn Contapio.
Okay, and I can just do a unanimous second by Gail anyhow, by unanimous consent. Everybody good? We are going to adjourn at 7:37 PM. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. We'll talk to you soon.